Welcome back, everybody, to These Aren't the Nerds You're Looking For. Lorenzo Fon is sitting here with...
Kevin Howard.
How's it going, my man?
Beautiful day in the neighborhood.
We're playing just a slight catch-up again after a nice holiday, as we also head into another holiday. Just kind of squeezing a few episodes in, trying to get these Star Wars Resistance episodes reviewed while we can.
Yeah.
Today we're going to be talking about the Voxx Vortex. This is the episode that aired on December 1st, 2019.
That is the Voxx Vortex 5000.
5,000, yes.
Not to be 5, confused with the first 4,999 of them.
Yeah. It's like up there with the various attempts at opening Rise of the Resistance. You know, we're at Rise of the Resistance 5,000.
Right.
But that thing is open for now.
Yeah, so you'll be attending Rise of the Resistance sometime in mid to late January, right? So
it opens here. I live in Southern California, for people who do not know. It has opened in Walt Disney World in Florida. It's not scheduled to open here at Disneyland in Anaheim until January 17th.
I live in extreme Eastern California, aka the Midwest.
Yes,
so
very east.
I will not be attending, but once Lorenzo has had the opportunity to experience that a few times, I'm sure we'll sit down and talk about that as well.
Yeah, I've been spoiler free as thus far as to word coming out of Florida's opening, but I eagerly await the opening here.
So speaking of spoiler free, I have not been spoiler free on the Rise of the Resistance, so I've been kind of sitting on all that info that I have collected via the internet and other, but recently, aka today, I've decided that I need to lay off the internet and Twitter and almost even YouTube, because as of right now, we're 9 days out from the Rise of Skywalker, right? And
yes.
Even just like headlines for news articles are getting like borderline too close to spoilery for my taste. So
that's a good point. There are many leaks that are out there that sound
plausible
verified to some degree. They sound very well sourced, shall I say?
Correct. But I've also seen articles that are like leaks are now being retracted, or what do you call? What do you call it?
Yeah, retracted.
The opposite of verified.
Recalled.
Nah, I don't know what I'm saying.
I know what you're getting at. I can't think of it either, but I do think the premiere of Rise of Skywalker is sometime around now, isn't it?
I don't know when it is, and usually I'll look at stuff up until like the day of the premiere, and then I'm out. But I saw something today, and it said, I don't even want to repeat it. One, because I don't know it verbatim, but two, like I read the headline and I was like, ooh, if that's true, like I wouldn't have wanted to know that beforehand. So
right.
I think I'm going radio silence for a while.
It's a very interesting time to be a Star Wars fan right now.
It is, for sure.
Resistance, the TV show, Mandalorian, the TV show, Galaxy's Edge, and Rise of the Resistance, and soon Rise of Skywalker.
And plus the promise of everything else to come with, the Obi show coming up. Show Kenobi, Obi-Wan Kenobi.
The Andy and Cass.
The Cassian Andor one.
Cassian Andor show. And don't forget Clone Wars coming in April.
Absolutely. Is that when it is? April?
I think it's April. I could be wrong. So yes, there's a lot. There's a lot going on. Should we get refocused back into the Resistance we shall be speaking of?
Yeah, I think we should. The Voxx Vortex 5000. I'm guessing, as normal, you have a breakdown of this one?
So this is where we will get into spoiler territory for Voxx Vortex 5000.
And nothing else.
Nothing else, no. If you have not seen Star Wars Resistance, That's Season 2, Episode 9, the Voxx Vortex 5000. I will start recapping spoilers ahead. You have been warned. All right. So all the aces are fighting in the Aces Lounge. Turns out they're basically bored. Hype wants to race at Vranky's racing circuit. There is an incentive to earn credits at Vranky's casino. Captain Doza goes along with this plan.
This is an old buddy of Hype's.
Of Hype, yeah. We get to the casino. Vranky greets Hype, Kaz, Captain Doza, Tora, Yeager, Niku. Those are the ones we see immediately there at the casino. The hotel and casino is actually kind of slower in business at the moment, as he has lost a lot of patrons to Canto Bite. There is a bet made, and the stakes are that if Hype wins a race against one of Vranky's racers, he gets money, and if he loses, he has to stay and race for Vranky indefinitely. There's a straight one-on-one race through an asteroid field. Hype loses. Turns out he was racing a droid. After threats of violence from Vranky, Captain Doza goes to renegotiate to try and get Hype back for the Colossus. Niku, Hype, Kaz, and Tora discover that the casino games may be connected to the droid somehow. The programming may be similar. Niku was sucked in by one of the casino games, a hollow game, I think they call it. So they set up new stakes with Vranky. A win will get Hype back. Lose will mean the loss of another ace and their ship. Freya is next up to race against Vranky's droid. She loses. Another race ensues with Bo. Vranky launches some mines. Bo loses. There are other stipulations to these races, such as no weapons and stuff, but Vranky just keeps going, hey, whatever happens, happens.
Yeah, he's basically like setting the rules for the challengers, not for himself.
Right, exactly. We get another race, this time with Griff. Vranky has weapons on asteroids. Then one more stake is set. This time, Tora and Kaz will run a relay race. They get in contact with Niku to try and see if he can gather any information. This happened before Freya's race, actually. Niku has kind of been feeding them some information from these holo games.
Yeah, he's trying to hack the droids through the game.
Right. And he's kind of like at least getting a view of the course that they might not have had otherwise. He's not quite hacking anything, but he's at least seeing what's happening on the course before they happen. So the stakes this time is that if Vranky, if the ace, if Tora and Kaz lose, Vranky will therefore get all the aces and also the Colossus. If the aces win, all the aces get returned to Captain Doza and an additional 500,000 credits, just to even the odds, since the Colossus is up on the other side there. Vranky tries to cheat one more time. However, Niku disables. There's a race that ensues that Tora runs the first leg of the relay. Doesn't go well for her. It's not going well for Kaz either until Niku disables the cheating mechanism thing that Vranky does. Kaz wins. All the aces get to return to the Colossus. They walk away with a big pile of credits. And that's cue loud music.
Cue loud music. Cue fanfare.
Or cue fanfare. Sorry. We haven't done that one in a while, so just mixing them all
and
up
so this cheating mechanism on the final race is that the finish line is like a ring, right?
Yeah, it's a hoop they need to fly through. So the first to fly through the hoop
and the
is
hoop
declared the winner.
The hoop itself has like blaster
Is
cannons on it
weaponized.
that are targeted at Kaz.
At Kaz specifically, yeah.
And not the droid. Which is bullshit.
Right, completely.
Call that out to begin with. Where do you want to start on this thing?
Real quick, I'll just mention that this episode was directed by Stuart Lee, written by Gavin Hignite, we have the appearance of Dave Filoni as Bo Keevil again, and he also plays some Kowakians. And I do want to mention that Frankie the Blue is voiced by one John DiMaggio, who I'm a huge fan of.
Okay.
So that is a voice I recognized pretty quickly as soon as Frankie showed up.
His voice sounded familiar to me. I did not recognize. I wasn't able to pull the name out of my rabbit hat.
Yeah. He's played Bender on Futurama, amongst other voices on Futurama as well.
Okay.
And he's also Jake on Adventure Time.
Yep.
Jake the dog. So.
As soon as you said Bender, I got it.
Yep.
So
where I want to, let's start with the whole conceit of this episode, shall we? Because is the Colossus still on the run from First Order? And
yes.
If so, how do we have such a time break for this weird side quest of, hey, the aces are bored, so let's go race and win us some money?
So that was going to be kind of one of my questions is whenever we do encounter the First Order.
Yes.
Right? Which we did in the last episode and the episode before.
Yes.
We get away from the First Order and then we jump to hyperspace and they just go somewhere? Like, are they just random hyperspace jumping? Is that what's going on?
I honestly don't know. I don't know.
Because if so, it seems very foolish with they've been in a fuel crisis twice.
Right.
Once presumably for hyperspace fuel and once presumably for sublight fuel, which we're not really sure if those things are different or not. I think that they are based on some evidence from Solo. But it's not a good plan if you're running out of gas. Okay, I'll put it this way. I worked in restaurants for a long time, and occasionally you have some unsavory people that kind of wander in and out of your parking lot / building. And for a while, there was this lady that would drive around in the parking lot in like a minivan, and she would beg for money. Like when people would leave their cars and walk to the building, be them customers or employees, she'd like pull up and be like, hey, I hate to ask you, but my kid needs medicine and my van's running out of gas. Like, can you spot me a couple dollars, you know? I mean, people do this at gas stations as well, right? But if you don't have money for gas, don't drive around in a parking lot. Like you're wasting gas.
In a van, which is not efficient at all.
Well, minivan. Maybe. You know.
Some of them might be, but nah.
But this is what the Colossus is doing. Like, fuel for the longest time was their biggest needed resource. Right. But now they're just like flying around, and they're doing a lot of flying around at like sublight, which seems like that would burn more fuel. And I guess maybe they need to conserve their coaxium for like their hyperspace travel, but I feel like they should stay stationary and determine where they need to go, as opposed to just kind of necking around through the backwoods. Like when you're lost in the wilderness, you're supposed to stay where you are and blow your I'm lost rape whistle. Not just keep meandering around and poking bears with sticks. Secondly, this is a kid's show, right? As much as I like to argue that it's not a lot of the times. Often these episodes have like a moral, you know, like family first or no deep planet drilling, like fracking is bad or whatever. This one seems to be when you're desperate, go all in and gamble
Double
and try to
down.
gamble your fucking way out of it.
Yeah, double down again, keep going, don't cut your losses.
Doza is literally like gambling the aces into slavery.
Basically, yes.
Because Vranky is like, okay, if you win hype, you get $25,000. 25,000 credits. If you lose, you have to stay here and race for me, and everything you win from here on out is my money.
Right. Like,
and hype is like, I'm not falling for this again, Frankie. He's already been in that situation.
Yeah, I don't understand the initial bet. I don't understand. Oh, I also
I can't believe that Doza was convinced to do this in the first place.
Yeah, I agree. Again, it's going back to what we were talking right before this.
Sorry for that rant there for a while.
No. It really undercuts any danger the Colossus might be in if they have enough time to go gallivanting on this weird like pleasure race thing at a hotel and casino.
I didn't even think of it from that point of view, and that's a good perspective as well.
Yeah, like
they're not in immediate peril. Like we have gone from immediate peril to downtime.
Yes, like again, sounding like a broken record. Like it's weird. Like this show will like pull me along, and it's like, oh yes, here you go. First Order's on their tail, and like, what's Tam up to? Is Tam like going full dark side like First Order over here? And no, we're going to go visit a hotel casino, and Niku's going to develop a gambling habit. Like, excuse me, what? Like, what is happening this season? What is going on in the show?
Speaking of Tam, when is the last time that we have seen Tam?
Was it
the engineer?
Yes. Yes? No. Was she an engineer?
I don't think so.
Yes. Yeah, actually, no. Because I think we only got the lady, like, fixing things. And then, like, at the very last second, we got Tierney and what's his gold face?
Pyre.
Like, oh, Pyre. Like, oh, like,
so
she failed us.
We saw her in Live Fire.
Yes.
Hunt on Seltzer 3 ?
My memory's real bad right now for all of these.
Live Fire we did for sure. Hunt on Seltzer 3, I'm not sure, but definitely we're saying no on the Engineer, no on From Beneath, no on the Relic Raiders, no on Rendezvous Point.
Yeah.
Did we see her? So maybe we didn't see her last week, did we? I don't think so.
Rendezvous Point. I don't.
So it's been 4 episodes, half of this season we haven't even seen her.
No, we saw her last week.
Did we?
Yes.
All right. Well, I forgot about that one.
I've already forgotten. Yeah.
But my point is that
so bad.
For someone who seemed like they were going to be a central antagonist or something in this show, at least like a secondary character, like she's not even really like a secondary character, like she's almost cameo status at this point.
Yes. Okay, so Rendezvous Point is the one with Tora's mom who got stuck on the thingy. Okay, and then she was captured by Tam. Okay.
That's right.
It's all coming back now. It's all coming back now. There we go.
Yeah, and then we come to this.
Yes. Then we come to this. So, yeah, last week's episode, I don't remember what my judgment was last week, but going from that, where it's like, oh, yeah, like, we're going to deal with Tam and Tam shit, and then...
But we're not. We're gonna go race and gamble.
Race and gamble with with Vranky the Blue Hut, who
Vranky the Blue
oddly sits like tail forward in a hover chair thing. Is that weird to you? Sorry, we're just going off.
It is weird.
another tangent here, but
So Frankie is a Hutt. I don't know if
I don't think we've established that yet.
He is a Hutt
on this podcast.
And when we first meet Frankie, he does say stuff like, "Ooh, don't worry about the way I look. I'm not like those other Hutts that you've met. I'm like those Hutts that you've never met." And he tries to play it like cool and collected and whatnot. And he speaks basic. He's not speaking Hutties the whole time.
Right.
He gives Hype a big old hug, and he's real happy to see him. It's kind of like that weird, the meeting of Lando and Empire Strikes Back.
Yes, yeah.
Where at first you think that there's like tension, but
there's not.
And it's like a repeat of that.
Yeah.
But yeah, to what you were saying is that Frankie is sitting on his spine.
Yes.
Like the whole time. Like he's lounging in a chair backwards with belly up.
Yeah. Belly up. It's like when you put a dog reclined onto a chair.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and
all four of their paws are
like
upward.
Facing forward. Yeah, towards like say the TV.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
like when you hold a dog like a baby. This is how Frankie is sitting in his chair.
Yes. The other interesting feature that never got any play is that there is a Gorg in his little. There's like a little fishbowl.
Okay, so I liked this. Because Jabba has like a hookah thing.
Yes.
Right, in Return of the Jedi. Mm-hmm. And he eats a frog. Yes. I think the frog is just a stand-in for a Gorg. Like, I think what that should have been would have been a Gorg. So the frog that he eats is just a Gorg analog that they hadn't designed into a Gorg yet. And I wouldn't be surprised if somewhere down the line the Wikipedia article is edited so that Jabba is eating a Gorg, not a frog.
Yeah, not a frog, yeah. I agree. I do like the Gorg in there. I just wish there was more action with the Gorg. I do like the hookah, you know.
I do think it's weird that the Hutts have this device where they store food and also use it as a water filtration system for their smoking pipe.
Yes. Yeah.
That's kind of gross to me.
Oh. Hey, I mean, whatever floats their boats.
I guess. I am not a water pipe smoker, so I wouldn't know the difference between using good water and fish tank water or lobster tank water. I don't know.
Is there a reason that like Jabba is called the Hutt, but Frankie is the Blue? Like, what are other Hutt names?
Zero the Hutt.
So they're all like, but why? Yeah. Why is Frankie not put into this the Hutt category?
Well, he's not blue in color.
Yeah, he's more of like a weird pale, like mauve sort of color.
Yeah. The Blue is probably just a nickname. So instead of like Jabba the Hutt the Blue or Frankie the Blue the Hutt or Frankie the Hutt the Blue, he's just because I mean it's like Jabba. He's known as Jabba, right? Not everyone calls him Jabba the Hutt, right? And this is Frankie the Blue, the Hutt.
I'm just, yeah.
It's just
that's fine. That's all. That's as much as I had for that one.
Yeah, I don't have a problem with calling him the Blue instead of the
that's
Hutt.
Good. Yeah, I just found it interesting that he got that nickname instead of like Zero and Jabba being called the Hutt.
How did you like the Canto Bight name drop?
I'm indifferent. I mean, we know of casinos and stuff on Coruscant, right? But
there's the sports bar that we go to, where there is gambling going on.
But in terms of like gambling hubs, is Canto Bight the only one we really know about?
In the old EU, there was more gambling establishments, but often they were associated with Lando Calrissian.
Of course. Yeah. But in terms of like Star Wars equivalents of Las Vegas,
Canto Bight.
Canto Bight would probably be it. And then what? Like Frankie's Hotel and Casino is like the I don't know, the Prim Nevada. Like,
yeah, I don't really know analog. I don't know anything about like.
It's so if Vegas is like the hub with multiple casinos and like sports betting, and you know there are multiple hotels and casino, the fact that Frankie's Hotel and Casino is like a standalone without other establishments around it is more of the, say, other auxiliary Harrah's hotels and casinos like in Joliet, Illinois, right?
Yeah, maybe.
Is there still a Harrah's out that way?
I don't know. We used to have a Harrah's here. Now it's Hollywood Casino.
Right.
We have casinos in the St. Louis area.
Right.
And they used to have to be literal gambling boats, like on the river.
Like little showboats. I remember that, yeah.
And then rules had been changed, and then it was like a building that was like built into the river, essentially. And then you
Really?
could have like the Harrah's that was built here in town. There was like a moat that was built off of the river. So it was like, say, 200 yards from the river, but there was like a canal that was built and then a moat around the building.
So that counted.
That counted, and then
like the river
was,
water flowed into that moat.
Correct. So that was on the river, and then there was a casino built in downtown St. Louis, and it was further away from the shore of the river, and even more moat, where there was literal river water that was pumped up a hill through some pipes, and there was a concrete moat around the building that you couldn't even see because the whole thing was covered, right?
Right. Mm-hmm.
And this counted. And then now I went to the grocery store like 6 months ago, and there's video poker in the grocery store and at gas stations and shit now. It's weird.
Really?
It's weird.
Weird.
I can walk 4 blocks to the grocery store and play video poker for money.
Interesting.
Right next to the frozen pizzas.
Here's how I feel about the Canto Bight name drop is I wish it was... I get it. I get the Canto Bight name drop. I just wish it was like more expanded instead of kind of linking back to a movie reference. If it was like, well, like everybody went to either Canto Bight or second place, just to expand it a little bit. Does that make sense?
I'm not going to lie. I almost wish they went to Canto Bight and they were racing failures.
Right.
As opposed to like this knockoff Cloud City in space with a hut thing where no one is.
And it's like this, it's just like this weird, sad, failed casino somehow. Like, how do you fail at a casino?
I mean, it can happen.
Yes, as some people have done in Atlantic City, which I won't name right now. But yes.
Good plan.
But like, I agree with you. To me, it was like this weird thing of, I think it was like a... Look, if not true, I feel bad because essentially what I'm doing is putting down the animators, and I don't want to do that because putting this shit together is hard, and I acknowledge that. But it feels like they didn't want to go through the effort of like even starting to create Canto Bight in the computer for this animation style.
I don't think that's true because there's a lot of auxiliary animation that goes on with this location.
But then, like, but I think again, it's like in the script they're like, well, it's an empty casino, therefore they only have to animate like the couple of Quakians.
There's a couple of patrons in here though as well.
Right, but it's not as much as if they would have to animate like hundreds of like drunk participants like trying to put coins in droids, right?
You just reuse assets, man. It's asset recycling.
Just put the same character in different clothing and nobody will notice that they're the same faces on all of them. Like that's like video game NPC style. Like,
I mean, we've seen it in the Clone Wars with
the clones.
No, not just the clones, but also the what's the pirate race? Hondo?
Oh, yeah. The Weequay? No.
Yep, the Weequays.
Weequays.
And yes, Canto Bight has more different types of aliens, right? But there's also a lot of it was mostly humans there. You know.
I'm not gonna lie, real quick, when you said pirate race, I thought you meant like a race like what takes place in this episode and not like the
that's funny.
Race of species. But yes.
Yes, pirate species would have been a better choice of words there. But yeah, I think it could have been done, and I don't think the intent was, oh, we want to do a casino. Wouldn't it be cool to do Canto Bight? We don't want to spend the money and the assets on it. Let's do something else. I don't think that's what it was. Okay. I think it was we want to do this thing, give a little bit of more history of Hype Phazon.
And also the Colossus is still quote unquote in hiding, right?
Mm-hmm.
So
but we also don't.
Canto Bight might not be a good idea.
I think it would be a bad idea if they like flew up and landed the Colossus on Canto Bight. But
also at this time too, this is when Rose and Finn would be causing havoc on Canto Bight, wouldn't it?
And wouldn't that have been cool?
I mean, yes, but actually, I have nothing. Yes, that would be actually really cool.
I'm not sure if that time period would have been at the same time, right? Because that takes place during The Last Jedi, so The Last Jedi shit should have happened during the first 2 or 3 episodes of this season. We should have moved past that because this season is supposed to wrap up with The Rise of Skywalker, and currently we only have another 9 episodes after this one to get to The Rise of Skywalker, which in the timeline between The Last Jedi and Rise of Skywalker is like 6 months to a year or plus, maybe. We don't know for sure yet because the movie's not out.
And we're not checking.
The only thing that I have seen is a good amount of time has passed. Essentially,
more than between Force Awakens.
6 months. Right.
Yeah, more than between Force Awakens and The Last Jedi. That's for damn sure.
Right. People are thinking about a half a year. And for the first half of this season to take place within
like a few days. Right, and then the last half of the season to be another half a year. I don't think that would happen. But they could have gone to Canto Bight and seen like the aftermath of what happened with Faviers running through the casino and whatnot. Also, and then that city is big enough. That city is big enough that I also feel like that is a small little blip for that city.
Canto Bight or
this for Canto Bight. Canto Bight. Because, like, at the end of Last Jedi, we cut back and those kids are still sweeping up and stuff like that, right? Yeah. There are no more Faviers there, but the kids are still there. The slaves are still.
I would imagine that it's not just one casino either.
Right. So that's where, like, my comparison of Canto Bight to Vegas was kind of more directed. The fact that Canto Bight is a gambling center. Rather
Canto
than
Bight is the strip, and this is
again just one satellite Harrah's in Illinois, Whereas on Vegas, there's a Harrah's, but there's also a Caesars, there's a Bally's, there's the Bellagio, you know.
I think another cool thing could have been if the proprietor was no longer this Frankie guy, but was one Mr. Lano Calrissian.
Yeah, maybe.
I mean, with the whole like gambling thing, and this is something that it's kind of ingrained in Lando's character, or even if he was there, whatever. I'm not sure that I appreciate what the storyteller is trying to say with this casino location. And I think that maybe should be where I end it, because otherwise I think we'll just kind of keep looping back to this.
Yeah.
Let's go to these races. What's your feeling there?
I personally was kind of bored by all of them. Like,
it's kind of repetitive.
They're super repetitive. There's even one edit between one of the races that I didn't understand that it was another bet had taken place. I think it's right after the Freya one. She immediately loses, and then we just see who follows her. Bo takes off.
I was going to say it would either be between Freya and Bo, or Bo and Griff.
Right, because I didn't understand that when Bo's race started, that was essentially a third bet that had taken place. Because the way they edited that, it felt like a relay race there. And I was confused by that initially. I rewound it a bit. I did like the 10-second skip back thing to make sure that my internet didn't like skip over a scene. It has done, it has glitched before, where like it skips a few like very important seconds of establishing something.
Right.
Nope. Freya loses, and we cut off into Bo's race. And we get, like, Captain Doza looking nervous at most. And I'm like, wait a second. And I'm like, I guess they just bet again. And then by the time we get to Griff, that's when I understood that they were just doubling, tripling, quadrupling down, essentially. I found the pacing of that part of the episode really odd. That it was essentially montage-ish, but they still basically showed full races.
Yeah, which are like 20 seconds long.
Right. And then we get like a downbeat of Kaz and Toro forming the plan with Niku, of having a relay race, they push in literally all they have.
Everything they got. Everything.
Right. And again, to me, the reason as well the races didn't involve me is because of the thing I mentioned right away, in that any tension that the show builds from week to week gets cut when I know that if they have time for this weird pleasure excursion, then like, yes, they put stakes on the board here in a very literal way, but still, in comparison to them being chased by First Order, like, that's not where I feel tension for them in this betting zone, right?
And I tell you what, that's a good point. The stakes here are probably the highest they've ever been. Minus, getting blown up.
Right.
But I guess the stakes of success for the future of the mission have been the highest they've ever been. But it doesn't resonate with me. And we can get to that in my one-word review of this thing. To get back to the races real quick.
Yes.
So initially it was hype Phazon, and if he wins, he gets 25,000 credits.
Yes.
So then we go through a series of the other aces, because Frankie wants to collect these racers so that he can make money off of them.
Yep.
One, we've seen maybe 4 people gambling in this casino.
Yep.
Does he have that much capital lying around to pay out? Obviously, at the end of the episode, he does. Because he does pay. He does,
yes.
He deliberately cheats and deceives and does what he can to win employees that won't be paid.
Right.
Right. Yeah. And he says that, oh, Hype, with your name back on the letterboard, will really draw in the crowds. So he's willing for him to throw that 25,000 credits out there to entice him to race, right?
Yes.
Even though they were coming to Frankie like, hey, we want to race and make some money off of you. You know?
Yes. Yeah.
He could have easily been like, no, like, stick around. We'll promote Hype. We'll get some people in here, and then you guys can make some money. But they're just betting against the house. So, next question is each subsequent race another 25,000? Like, is Freya 25,000? Is Bokeevil 25,000?
No, I'm not gonna lie. I had that question as well. It's not established. We never hear that come out of anybody's mouth that it's Freya wins, we get 25,000 plus Freya back plus Hype back.
I think at that point it's just getting back the previous racers.
It's just getting back all the racers.
Frankie is not a good negotiator then, because once he has 2, if they win 1 race, they should get 1 back, not 2.
Right.
You know,
like they need to keep earning back the racers one by one rather than all at once. Like, because even at the end of this episode, even though I'm just gonna preface my review, my feelings, my judgment here, but even though I wasn't quite enjoying this episode at all, the fact that then at the end everybody pushes all their chips in, the fact that then Frankie loses and doesn't immediately try to offer another bet, even if the Colossus crew doesn't take it, it felt odd that
it is odd.
Frankie finally loses and he doesn't immediately go, hey, another race, you know,
and he pays.
Yeah, he just straight up pays, doesn't moan about it, or he does, but you know, he does it. Fair to his word.
And he bitches during the race because he says Kaz cheated, because Kaz goes like off course. Like Kaz takes a little shortcut. Like he sees the finish hoop and does like a loop up over some asteroids and like cuts straight across to it. He's like, hey, he went off course. And Hype's like, hey man, you even said anything goes.
Anything can happen. Yeah.
Right.
So,
but he doesn't try to make another bet. He doesn't try to do anything. He's like, shit, you won. All right, let's get the money. Kowakian ape lizards like out of the way, which that's what his security force is. Kowakian ape lizards, that's the big ones that we met in season 1. Kowakian monkey lizards seem to be the dealers of the like, one gambling table that they have, which I'm presuming is like craps or something.
It looks like craps, but just has like different stuff on it.
They don't actually play the game in this episode, so I'm not really sure.
Yeah, we just see a few people at like the Holo games, which is like basically, I wouldn't even call it their slot machines. It's weird. Like whatever.
They're not slot machines.
Yeah, whatever Niku's playing just looks like a really weird version of like Galaga meets, I don't know.
Asteroids?
Yeah, asteroids. But even then, it's like, it's not even asteroids because like it's a
strafing bottom to top shooter game.
Yes. Yeah. And that's
all
like,
it is.
They're constantly rolling forward. It's like if you played Kingdom Hearts, it reminds me of like the gummy ship levels. Or it's like Star Fox. It's like a 2D Star Fox, right? Like a top-down 2D Star Fox. It's weird.
It is weird.
This whole episode is weird. Like I don't like you were saying, like, yes, like at times this could be like a family show and not just like geared towards kids sort of show, but it like at the end of this episode like,
just keep gambling even if you're losing.
Right? Like, what are we getting? Like, yeah, just keep gambling, or keep betting, or don't step away until you win $500,000. Like,
don't be
what?
reasonable at
But
all.
then also like when also here's the other thing: when losing, cheat. Like,
yeah, and you can't even have the moral of like when your friends are in trouble, do everything you can to save them, because they just continuously put themselves in peril in an irresponsible manner.
Yeah,
like nothing that happened here would have happened without their own decisions.
Yeah, nobody learned anything here. There's no growth in any of these characters whatsoever. Like, I don't understand what I'm supposed to get out of this episode at fucking all.
I have one more point, and then let's move on to final judgment and one-word review. 500,000 credits for the Colossus does not seem like that much.
No.
When you consider that Obi-Wan Kenobi and Luke Skywalker chartered a junk freighter to Alderaan for 17,000 credits.
Yeah.
So they could have done this 29 times. This is only 29 times. 29. This is 29 Uber trips.
Yeah.
Right? 29 Uber trips is worth the Colossus.
Right.
And the entire first, or not the entire First Order, a big chunk of the First Order, including Captain Phasma and Captain Pyre and Agent Tyranny, are after 29 Uber trips.
I swear. Okay, this is a sample size of 2, essentially, but there has been an interesting little thing where I feel like money is getting devalued in movies. Again, it's only a sample size of 2. This would be my first example. My true example would be Jurassic World Fallen Kingdom.
Okay.
Did you see that movie?
I did.
Where
I like that movie.
Spoiler alerts for that movie, where it turns out there's like a auction for
at the end,
various dinosaurs, and they're like, ooh, we have a raptor, and they're being sold to the black market. It's like, oh, we have a raptor, and they're like, first auction person is like $100,000, and we're like, for a fucking raptor? What?
$15.
Yeah. And then like the big kahuna comes out, and it's like that big genetically modified scary motherfucker, and like they're like saying, yeah, the Indo thing, and they're like, oh, it's like the most vicious killing machine ever made. And like the first one was like
$200,000.
Yeah, like, well, the first yell out is something like that. And we're like, what the fuck? Like,
and don't they only want to get like $8 million out of the auction or something like that?
I think something weird like that.
Something.
It's something ridiculously small, and it just like brought me back to fucking Dr. Evil status, where it's like, ooh, we're gonna ask the world for $1 million. Right. It's like, hey, by the way, $1 million does not go far at all. And this is 1996 or 97, you know?
Right. And you know that's billions of dollars of fucking technology that went into those dinosaurs.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. So it's just, I don't understand this episode.
29 Falcon trips.
That's a really good way of looking at it. That's really, I did not do that math. I'm glad you did that math, because that's fucking hilarious.
It is 29.411 and then some other digits. So not even 29 and a half.
This is just absolutely ridiculous, this episode.
That being said,
yes.
Thumbs up, thumbs down. Dave Rave, Filoni Baloney. What do you got?
Thumbs down. This is a full thumbs down too. This is not like a middle ground thumbs down. I do not like this episode.
I do not 100% agree with you here. Yeah. This breaks my streak of this entire season being thumbs up for me, and this is full Filoni Baloney sandwich here.
Yeah, it's just a bad episode. Even if taken in a vacuum, right? Like, I think when we started this podcast, I tried to be fair to some degree, like judging episodes on their own.
You used to.
I used to. But this show's a lot different than Clone Wars. Let's put it that way too. This show's a lot different, where this show tries to have like one overarching arc, right? But even in the vacuum of like, let's just look at this episode, let's pretend they were never in fucking danger. This episode still makes no fucking sense. Like,
regardless of whether or not they're in danger, I completely agree with you. Where the Clone Wars was kind of structured as like a hodgepodge of Star Wars stories that took place in the Clone Wars and were put into a show. Later, it became less of an anthology and more of an episodic series.
Yes.
This was set up as an episodic series.
Mm-hmm.
And this does not feel like a necessary part or a logical step in this episodic series.
Not at all. It's this show thus far has been so incohesive that this one especially, like in a season that already feels incohesive,
this derails whatever momentum that we had.
Right. Like this train was already off the tracks and now the train has blown up. Right. So this episode is just bad all around. Like,
can you sum this thing up in one word?
No.
Other than just bad? I mean, you can use just bad.
Just bad. You know. Just go with bad. This is a bad episode.
All right.
Yeah, bad. I'll go with bad.
So, sometimes I struggle with coming up with one word, and this week, not so much. Maybe because I have 5 different one-word evaluations of this thing.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll go ahead and throw them all out there and then settle on one. But I started with predictable because as soon as we started talking about races, I was like, oh, I know what's going to happen. Like, they're going to lose a bunch of shit, and in the end, they're going to win. Yeah. Right? Then I went to careless because this entire plan is 100% absolutely careless. And I don't like in this season how Doza is as careless as he is.
I agree. Like, Doza's making some stupid decisions.
At least Yeager had one line in this episode that might as well have been, I feel like I'm taking crazy pills.
Right.
He says, like, when Doza's like, okay, yeah, fuck it. Like, you both do the relay race and we'll risk the Colossus too. Yeager says, did we all just lose our minds right now?
Yes.
Like, I appreciated that.
Yes.
A momentary bit of reason in all of this. After careless, I went to irresponsible. Because after being careless, it's 100% irresponsible, all the shit they're doing. Followed by desperate. And what I settled on was that, to me, this episode is literally just upsetting.
Uh-huh.
And that's where I'm going to go.
Yeah.
I don't want to be hypercritical of the story that it's trying to tell, but I guess it doesn't click with me. I don't understand. I know that a lot of people put a lot of work into accomplishing the Voxx Vortex 5000, and I'm not going to shit on people for doing their jobs and putting their effort into something. But for me, didn't work.
Look, I don't want it to, like, on a technical level, yes, there's a lot of work that was put into this. But
and it looks nice.
It's well produced, but
I do not agree with the story.
This script is bad. Like, just nonsense. And it's funny, like, when you started saying careless, again,
predictable, careless, irresponsible, desperate, upsetting.
Well, look, I would almost interpret careless in a different way, where this episode makes me not care about anything that happens to any of these people at fucking all. Right?
Yeah.
Again, any goodwill that season 2 will build up, like if
any momentum that we have built, even with the speed bumps that we've hit along the way,
yeah,
we just smashed into a brick wall.
Oh yeah, no, like, I've used this litmus before. I think I've used it pretty much every episode of season 2 of us discussing season 2. If we were not doing this podcast, would I still watch this show?
And
no.
This one is a hard no for you.
Yeah, and this one would have just made, like, look, a few episodes ago, I would have already kind of been like, yeah, I think I'm okay. And the fact that we had Thanksgiving holiday between previous episode leading up to this, which is why we could not remember what the hell happened in last week's episode.
Right.
The fact that we came back and this is the episode we had to fucking watch, like, oh my god, there's so much better TV out there right now. There's so much better family shows out right now. Like, The Dragon Prince on Netflix is an amazing show, and it's on season 3, and I cannot get enough.
There's better Star Wars TV out right now.
Dear God,
like simultaneous.
Yes. Yeah. Then I come back to this fucking show, and
not to mention, this is 18 days. This episode came out 18 days before The Rise of Skywalker.
Right. And it's just funny because, like, you and I are on... okay, the Star Wars fandom is very interesting to me right now, right? And I'm not to say that people are wrong or whatever. Everybody has their own feelings. And I know for a lot of people, The Last Jedi kind of soured a lot of people to the Star Wars franchise. It did not to me.
I agree with you.
And to me, Attack of the Clones did that.
I disagree with you.
Yes, I understand. So there has been like a buildup of momentum where people are like, oh yeah, like Mandalorian's like making me like have faith in the franchise again. And so like that's happening. And yes, like to be fair, Mandalorian is a very good show. Is a very this is not a Mandalorian review. We will get into that. It's a good show. But meanwhile, while this show exists, like, what the actual fuck, guys? You know, like, this is the shit that I do not understand. This is where I get disheartened with what EU sort of does to Star Wars, right? Like the worst of what it can do, right?
Even if this was EU, I would say this would be bad for the EU.
Right.
So,
but like that's and it's really weird. Like this, it's a really like again, The Last Jedi did not sour me to Star Wars, but this and to a small degree Galaxy's Edge does. You know, like this, I don't. Who is looking over this shit? I don't understand. I mean, it bothers me because we came off of, for animated series, we came off of Rebels, which was way good, you know, so very good. But yeah, and so yeah,
I totally agree with you. This is, I think we could probably go on and on.
Right. This is, I'm gonna say this is probably one of the worst episodes of Resistance I've seen. Period.
I think I won't use the word worst episode of Resistance, but what I will say is this is my least favorite episode of Resistance.
Yes.
I'm a big fan of Star Wars is like pizza. There's no bad pizza. There's no bad Star Wars. But this is potentially a piece of pizza, and I love me some pizza that I probably wouldn't eat the crust.
This one's undercooked. Let's put it that way.
Yeah.
This one's undercooked pizza.
Well said.
But backing out of that, next week we have Kaz's Curse moving forward. Hopefully it can only go up from here. But as always, we like to lead people to notthenerdz.com. You can find all of our info there, ways to contact us. All the episodes are listed there as well if you want to go back and listen to us ranting about all the other previous episodes of Star Wars Resistance and Clone Wars as well.
Yeah.
As always, we like to give our shout-outs to at Beard the Blue, who put together that website, notthenerdz.com. And also, we like to give a thanks to Kevin at They Call Me K-Dub on Twitter. He's the one who put together our cover art. And we also like to thank Lindsay every week. She's the one that put together our jingle that you hear at the beginning and end for us. You can reach out to her at strangefantasymusic@gmail.com.
It's Varenki the Blue in the episode, but it's actually Blue the Beard.
Blue the Beard. Oh, shit. Yep. What did I say?
Beard the Blue.
Of course. Again, my mind is like melting in itself this week. I'm having many mental issues.
That's all right. I'm sure he will forgive you.
Yes.
But either way, I've been Kevin.
I've been Lorenzo.
These aren't the nerds you're looking for.
Bye-bye.